Most people think that their psychologist, therapist, etc., coach has everything together. Like that they figured this out and, they are calm and have high self-esteem and etc., etc. So that's typically not the case. So as psychologists, we're normal people too. We struggle with things as well. And one of the reasons that people think that we're so perfect is because essentially we're trained to have a calming presence. Like that's kind of the whole point. Like you don't want your, psychologist to be like breaking down in tears or like fidgeting or looking anxious, things like that. Like there is like this kind of old premise of like being a blank slate, like for the patient, for the client. And so a part of that is kind of what you're reading from the training. Additionally, like when you're working with a psychologist, therapist, coach, typically it's a very one-sided relationship. You're disclosing a ton and they're disclosing almost nothing. Although I'm someone that does believe in disclosure, so I actually think that kind of disclosing more about myself and things like I've gone through actually really helps my clients. But there's like a variance in how people view this. And so it's very sweet, this comment, the kind, encouraging, self-assured. I don't necessarily perceive myself that way. I feel like I'm very human and, I have my own things that I struggle with, just like you all. But at the same time, I do always say that my psychology education was probably one of the best things I ever did. And so I do feel that once you've had this extensive education in psychology and how the mind works, it is really, really helpful. It's almost like we all get put into this world without like an owner's manual to our own mind, and we're just expected to figure it out. And when you do study psychology, it's almost like you get to read the owner's manual. So then you kind of understand why you're doing things, why you're feeling certain things, why other people are doing and feeling certain things. So it does give you kind of a sense of calm to kind of be able to see like the source code of like the human mind, in that you kind of do hold things with more detachment. And maybe that's kind of the calm that people read into, where it's like, this is just the human mind. I realize a lot of the things that my mind does, a lot of the things that your minds do are normal, even though they might be strange and they might not be perfect and they might not be ideal. This is kind of the world we live in, and this is the type of mind we were given. And especially if you've had certain circumstances in your life history, like there's going to be maybe a little bit of trauma, maybe some other factors, attachment issues. And so we all have a different life history. And as we understand that life history and how that would contribute to the forming of a human mind, it's easier to kind of have that compassion with ourselves, which I think then results in what appears to be like a higher sense of self-confidence and looking reassured. But I think what it actually is, and this is how I view it, is I don't necessarily take myself as seriously. From what I've seen, you all take yourselves very seriously, and you have a lot of kind of like ego protection. I think as you kind of learn more about psychology and you work on yourself, you're able to let go of that ego a bit more. And then it kind of is a lot easier to live life, because as you don't take yourself as seriously, as you don't have that like need to have that ego protection, you just kind of go and do things, and you're chill and assured and kind of fine for the most part. But it does take some work, and it does take, in my case, it took a lot of work, and it took a lot of years of study, a lot of learning, a lot of meditation, a lot of different techniques, a lot of doing my own thing. But it is possible. So I think that anyone can kind of be calm, reassured, have high self-esteem, things like that. But it might not be exactly how you think it works. It's more in the ability to detach from that protection mechanism, and less about like feeling like, oh, I'm such a cool person or something like that.